As you guys know that have watched these live streams and whatnot, before, we manifest our reality in two ways. We either do it consciously or we do it unconsciously in default mode. So I wanted to talk to you guys about it because I did a session for one of my clients who's a graduate of Charm Life. And, you know, once you get out of Charm Life and you don't have the weekly reminders, sometimes you forget the things that we learn, right? But I want to talk to you guys about how to navigate and what ends up happening when you're talking two or more people, right? Like all of you have families, you have, some of you have partners, some of you are mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, children, you know, whatever. And within our relationships, we all play a role, right? You guys know what I'm talking about? You all have a role. Like in your family, depending on birth order, you had a role you played. And with that role comes certain behaviors, certain expectations, right? And ways in which you relate to the rest of your family. Well, a lot of times we take those roles and we then go play them out in the world, even as adults, with our jobs, and depending on what your title is or whatever is going to depend how you play your role. If you never consciously get in touch with roles you're playing, how you're doing things, why you're doing things, whether it's unconscious or conscious, whether you're choosing it or whether you're sort of just reacting to energies, we end up playing these roles. So the reminder from this call this morning was amazing because I was just thinking about this. If you're working with someone, you're in partnership with them, they have limited beliefs. If they have, and this was in a business situation, right? Where someone that he works with, that they're kind of partners on jobs, has very limited financial beliefs, really like doesn't handle money properly, has a bunch of fears about business going down and whatnot. And while my client doesn't, and has worked through all of his stuff, he had a dream that precipitated a call to me. And we talked about it and he's like, what the hell's going on? And it's like, well, you know, you've let this guy's reality, the beliefs that he has, you let that dictate how the reality of your work partnership is playing out. You are not the biggest energy in the room. For those of you who took the empath class, you know what I'm talking about when I say you need to be the dominant energy. You need to be the one that's dictating this is how this is going to play out. Not from a manipulative standpoint. I don't want you guys to think that I'm teaching you how to manipulate reality, you know, to hurt other people. I'm talking about creating reality from a place where you're the dominant energy for the highest good of all, not just yourself. So here's what happens. And this is the way reality works. Whether you guys are aware of it or not, this is the way reality works, right? Life is like a play, okay? And within that play, you can be, doesn't always happen, you can be, and you should be, the director, the producer of the play. You should be the one scripting everything out. You should be the one deciding how this is going to play out, so to speak, right? Like you should be the one in charge of how other people are acting in your life, what role they're playing, how they're interacting with your life, with the things you believe in and what you want. You should be in charge of that. What ends up happening in the world, and even for people that, you know the principles of how reality is manifested, what ends up happening is we let other people be in charge of it, or we get sucked into playing a role for them in their play. And if their play is very limited or very negative or very lacking, you get stuck and sucked right into that. And then you guys end up calling someone like me, or you call me and you're like, I don't understand what's happening. I'm having all these dreams. I can't breathe. What's up? You know, things in my business or my life or my relationship are starting to fall apart. You know, what is going on? You know, I work through a lot of this stuff. Well, what's going on is you bought into somebody else's drama. You bought into somebody else's play. You are now playing a role in their play. And you are letting them write the script. You are letting them determine how this is going to play out. So that's what's happening. We have patterns, like thought patterns, behavior patterns. They are either going to be conscious or they're going to be unconscious. If you're sitting in a conscious place, you get to determine how things play out. You're the one that sets the intention for the energy. You're the one that holds the intention for the energy. And then things start to roll the way that you imagine it and envision it in your mind, right? As long as you hold to it. You also have habitual, old, reactive thought patterns, waveforms, and behaviors. And if you don't get a hold of those things, they will always sort of be an undercurrent in your life. And it is why things start to go sideways for you when things were going really good, because you're now in reaction mode. And if somebody's triggering you into feeling in a way that you used to feel, like in a time when you were hurt, when you were weaker, when you were uninformed, when you were unconscious, if you allow that trigger to suck you in, you will go back to old ways of behaving, you know. And it's not like you should condemn yourself or feel bad or guilty or whatever. It's nothing like that. I'm just trying to explain it to you guys so that you can understand why we do this backsliding thing, why we make it up the mountain and we're doing really good. And then suddenly something happens that you're completely unaware of and you just slide, right? You start to slide downhill. That is what all of that is about, and why and how that comes to be. Okay, so I wanted to talk to you guys about it. If you want things to shift and you want them to change, you have to be the dominant sort of energy and intention in any kind of a partnership or a group. It's much easier to do it when it's just you involved. I get it. It gets so much easier when it's just you, and that's fine and that's easy if you live in a cave. If you don't live in a cave and you actually have to go out and about into life and be around people, oh, it's a whole different story. Right? Totally different story. Now, you know, what I think, what I believe, although it's expanded and there's all kinds of unlimited potentials and possibilities, even though that's what I believe and that's what I live and that's what I hold, I'm partnered with this person over here who's very limited, who's very scared, who's very reactive. And if I don't keep my dominant energy on top, and I'm not the one like directing and steering the boat, I'm automatically, unconsciously, and without wanting to, letting this person's energy dominate. And then I'm sucked back down into the hole of hell. And then you got to call someone like me and go, Bernadette, what the hell just happened? Like, what's happening? Because if this doesn't straighten out, you know, I can see the problems with what's showing up. So I get it. You know, it's not like I never go there, you guys. Like, I teach this stuff. I've written about it. I've lived it for over 20 something years. Occasionally I fall into the BS, you know, especially when it comes to like romantic partnerships. And this is the thing you guys need to understand too. When you're entering into romantic partnership, or even a close friendship, the energy of the other person can certainly steer the boat, right? Like can be the steering factor of energy, and you're either going to redirect it consciously or you're going to unconsciously fall into. And this is what happens with people that, you know, that are on the lower vibrational scale, you know, and they gossip and they're negative and they complain all the time. And if you're friends with them and you talk to them all the time, you get sucked into it pretty soon, no matter where you normally stand and what your intention is for your life and how you want things to play out. If you're talking to that every day and you're playing a role for them, supporting role, you're going to get sucked into the drama, the chaos, the bullshit. And then you're going to have the rest of your life begin to fall apart because of it. So it's really important, you guys, that you're very aware. You are either directing your physical reality and you're letting people play a role in your positive, intentional reality, or you're giving up all your power and you're playing a role in somebody else's, and it may be a very negative. I have both generalized anxiety disorder and ADD, so it is many times so hard for me not reacting over things people do and say to me. I'm working hard on it, but it's not always easy. No, it's not always easy. So here's the thing that I would challenge you, Janet, and anyone else that has these things. And I'm very aware that anxiety is real. I struggled with it when I was younger. And my daughter has heightened anxiety and PTSD. Both my daughters have anxiety. The one has more of a social sort of anxiety from being such a strong empath. Um, but it is the place of, you know, really getting a hold of, and no joke, this is what I was talking about in the empath class too. You are either going to allow other people's energy, your environmental energy, mass consciousness energy to steer your life, to affect your life, or you're going to raise that energy up and maximize the hell out of your energy and be the loudest energy in a space, in a room, and most definitely in your life. And then you don't have competing, like you're not getting pulled about anymore. It is a matter of learning how to stand in your power, which takes controlling your thoughts, right? And being very consciously aware of what's going on around you. How are you participating? How are you connecting to other people? You know, are you letting them dictate how this relationship, how this event, how this conversation is playing out, right? Like, we don't have to be victims. You guys, I know it's hard when you don't know the rules of the game, but this universe has very distinct rules. And they're rules that create order out of chaos. I know sometimes it feels like it's chaotic. I know before I studied all of this years ago, I was blown about by everybody's energy, and being the super, you know, like empathic one, and I want to help everybody. I got sucked into so many people's dramas, and then I would go home and just want to hide for days on end because I had nothing left. It affects your finances. It affects your relationships. It affects your body. And ultimately, you know, it affects your sanity. So you have to learn how to really like be the one who is directing your own personal reality. It's not, and I want to say this because I see more and more people are like, just cut them off and get rid of them. You know, it's easy to say that. And that's kind of more of a self-centered sort of attitude. And I'm not telling you guys to stay in abusive relationships. I'm not telling you that you should engage with people who are negative, but I would encourage and challenge everyone in the spiritual community, instead of cutting everybody off, learn how to be the dominant energy, learn how to affect other people in your reality that are negative, that are abusive, that are trying to suck you in and pull you down. You be the one that's the bigger energy that starts to positively affect them, instead of feeling like a damn victim and you got to run from everybody who doesn't hold the same vibration as you, right? Like, that's what we're supposed to be doing. We're not supposed to be running and hiding from negativity. We're supposed to be transmuting and changing it, right? A lot of mediums have told me I'm an empath, but I don't know how much is true. I think it very well can be possible because I'm sensitive. There's plenty of stuff out there. I just did a video on it, Janet, like what it is to be an empath. It doesn't matter who tells you. You're the one that either is going to agree with it because it lines up with you and it feels right in your gut and do something about it, or you're not. I mean, it's entirely up to you. I believe that whatever knowledge and tools and wisdom that we can have that will make our lives easier and give us that power back, the better. Yeah. You guys agree with me though, when, you know, I see so many posts and I see so many people talk about, I'm not going to say that, you know, I haven't recommended for people to just stop talking to somebody, stop engaging with them until you can be the dominant energy, because otherwise you are just letting them plug into you and take your energy. You don't need to do that. But first, you have to spend some time alone. Separate your energy from all of those other negative energies and thought forms and controls and manipulations to get very clear on who it is you are. Once you get that and you can really maintain your own energy, then you can go back and re-engage. You're not going to get away from the negativity. I don't believe in being an ostrich and putting my head in the sand. I don't think it's helpful to the planet to just focus on, oh, whatever makes my life easier. Sure, that's fine. Follow your bliss. Great, whatever. But you are here for a reason, just like I am here for a reason. And if you are an empath, if you are sensitive, if you are someone who's just really heart-centered and you're on the beginning parts of your spiritual journey, or maybe you've been on it for a while and you've been listening to everyone tell you like, oh, you know, you don't need negativity like that. No, you don't need negativity like that. But Can you rise above it? Because that's the test. That's the test. I was thinking about this morning when I was meditating, I was thinking about how, there's this big thing in miracles in the Bible, and Jesus walked on water. Water is emotions. So think about this, you guys, if you want to go from a metaphorical standpoint of what that meant, right? Maybe that story meant that we become our own powerful beings, able to connect to all miracles when we can walk above the baseline of emotions. And the baseline of emotions, a lot of times out there, are the lower vibrational emotions. But when you can rise above, right, because you do know who you are, where you came from, what you're capable of. You do know your divine power. You do know your divine nature. You do remember who you are at the highest levels. Then you can walk on water, meaning walk on emotions. You can walk right through it, and it's not a big deal. It doesn't have to make you drown. It's possible. I think about things like this, and Spirit's great in showing me different texts and different teachings and getting me to look at it from all different ways. Like, it makes sense to me that is one of the lessons we have to learn in life, though. We need to learn how to rise above emotions. We need to learn how to be able to observe it and not let it drown us, not let it suck the life out of us, not let it get us into this place of negative thinking to where now you're a victim again. Now you have no power again, right? So what role are you playing? Is it a consciously chosen role? These are the questions I want you guys to think about today. Is it a consciously chosen role, or are you taking an old role that you were born into a family dynamic and just continuing to live within the scope of that role, those limitations, those belief systems, whether it's regarding money, work, relationships, life, whatever. Are you repeating or regurgitating old habitual patterns and you've lost your awareness to it? And are you, responding rather than reacting to things? Because when you get to a place of conscious response, when you can take a breath before you respond to anything, positive, negative, higher vibration, lower vibration, if you can take that time to just take a breath so that you are consciously responding to things, you are going to be more in a place of control. You guys want to learn how to manifest like really cool things, big things, small things, magnify and align to and magnetize relationships and everything else to you. That's how that's done. And it takes doing your inner work and becoming very conscious. It's not a magic wand. I know that, like, the book I wrote and the course I teach, my signature course is Charm Life, 30 Days to Charm Life, right? How to create the life that you desire. But there's no magic wand. Like, the magic wand is what's going on in your head, what's going on and rolling off of your tongue, what you're emitting from an emotional perspective, and cleaning up the beliefs and limitations and flipping them in such a way that you can actually start to create your reality. And it takes work. It takes a process, and it takes work, you guys. Especially if you're empathic, because holy crap, like, being an empath, a lot of times, if you've never been in control of the energies coming at you, let alone your own, it's easy to get pulled back and forth. It's easy to get swept under, by other people's stuff. You get rolled, and then you get stuck in this place of anxiety and depression. And it's like, oh my God, how did I get here? We all have to take breaks from people, right? And there's nothing wrong with it. I really I think the more time that we put aside on a regular basis, on a daily basis, to get in touch with ourselves, whoever our higher power is, and we take that time to focus in on, and reflect on how you've been, how you're trying to live your life, what you're trying to become, and we align to the intention of that in a strong way daily, life becomes so much easier, But like I said, I don't want to see you guys running from stuff. I don't want to see you guys getting caught up in other people's dramas, because it happens. Like I said, this client I talked to today has been able to manifest an incredible business from going away from working for a company to creating his own company, which is one that can fail very easily. And then, now working, partnering up with another small business, and it's like he's already surpassed that small business multiplied. But now it's like bringing up stuff that he was afraid of, and there's still an undercurrent there that needs to be cleaned up because it was familiar. And that's the thing. Sometimes someone will partner with someone in life and business, whatever, and we've gotten beyond the issues, the negative issues or limiting beliefs that they have, and we're over here and we're doing really good, and they come along and we haven't cleaned up just the smallest bit of that thought form, of that belief. There's still a little bit of fear there, and it triggers you. Like over here, the guy's like, this is how I'm doing things. And you're like, I can see that leading to failure. That was me 3 years ago before I turned it around, right? Got to clean that up, because whatever it triggered in you is now affecting your income, your life, your stress level. Got to clean it up, because that thing over here triggered and made you aware of a fear. You guys follow me? Do you understand what I'm saying to you? It makes sense to me in my head, the way that I am seeing it and the way Spirit's bringing in the vibration of it. I want you guys to understand that that's how that works. Like, to get mad because, I don't want to do business with this guy anymore because, he's negative and he's very limited. It's not the point. That's, hey, go have a conversation with the guy and tell him, that was me 3 years ago. Where I am now with exponential business growth and success, very different, because I don't hold the beliefs that you still have over here that's making you react and do certain things that are not good for your business health, your life health, and everything else. That's where we go with that. Instead of going, I'm just going to cut them off because it's negative. Cut them off. That's millions of dollars of business for you. Truly, that's what ends up happening. We miss out on huge opportunities when we follow the thing of, you don't need that kind of drama. Just cut them off. How about be an example for other people, right? We have to start shining our lights outward. And you don't need light in an already light place. You need light to be shined in dark places. So that is why you guys are put, into some really sort of drama-filled negative environments, is because you are meant to be the light. So stand up and be the light, which might mean that you need to do your own work.